I'm Mrs. Carter, and I'll be teaching you history today.
You ever been on a roller coaster where it's equal parts boring and exciting? That's kind of what this series was for me. There are points that made me want to stop watching at certain points, and there were other parts that really had me intrigued where I wanted to go ahead and actually see where the story was going. And I can't even say that it was a pacing issue. This, for me, is kind of like a Frankenstein story in the way that it was put together and cobbled together. This is an action crime adventure that even as I was writing the script for it and I was digesting this series in my mind, I still am not set on exactly where I was going to have the verdict. So, let's see where I end up with this particular review. Now, since this is an action adventure type of story and a little bit of espionage to it, I'm the main target audience for this. I'm going to give main character energy on this, but I will go ahead and actually make sure that I give casual viewer perspective. You know, I always value making sure that you know where your reviewer comes from, just so you know their biases. I go and actually watch the first 2 episodes of brand new shows on streaming content to see if they're worth your time. I watch so you don't have to. Hopefully you like that, and if you do, click like, share, subscribe. And now, let's get into the review for Who is Erin Carter? Who is Erin Carter is an action crime adventure that premiered on Netflix in August of 2023. It contains 7 episodes in its miniseries. Each episode is about 50 minutes. So it stars Evan Ahmad as school teacher and overprotective mom Erin Carter, Sean Teal as the nice, stable, kind of beta husband Jody, and Denise Gao as the mysterious woman from Erin's past, Lena. The story goes like this. Erin Carter, a British teacher in Spain, finds herself caught up in a supermarket robbery. When one of the robbers claims to recognize her, her life threatens to unravel in Palmino, a town of secrets. She must fight to clear her name and protect her family. So there we have the story. We got the stars for it. Let's go ahead and actually give some expectations for both our casuals and mains to really know what each audience is going to expect in this type of series. For mains, our number one thing is we need action. Fight scenes, car chases, maybe even an explosion or two. But we're looking for action, and that's top of our mind. Number 2, we want a cool protagonist. It doesn't matter if they're good or if they're shades of good, maybe anti-hero, whatever. We want them to be charismatic and be enough that we can go and actually root for. Number 3, a decent story with some pacing genre differences, meaning we want it to make sense and to help to bridge the gap to the action scenes, either give us some comedy, some drama, or some horror to grab onto. It's important to know that action by itself doesn't usually survive. It always bleeds into some other type of genre to kind of pace through to get to the action spaces or what have you. So have some nice pacing and we kind of have a winning type of recipe here. Now let's talk about those casual expectations. Number 1 for casuals, characters are just first in an action flick. They want a good guy to root for and a clear-cut villain to go against. You got to make them compelling just so that a casual can go ahead and actually buy into the story that you're telling and they like the characters. It's a character-driven vehicle for a casual. Number 2, the story has to speak to them. Pacing, dialogue, and a sensible story really feed into a casual's tolerance for an action series. And then number 3, action isn't as big for a casual, but it's still expected because they know what's coming on. So they're looking for something that's a little different from other flicks. If you have anything that's nuanced or different, or you have a different take or anything like that in those action scenes, that's kind of going to be the thing that they'll glob onto third. So now we got our expectations set. Let's get into this review. Now, without spoiling things, it's hard to talk about how the roller coaster goes up and down for this series, but basically Erin is trying to live a nondescript life of a school teacher with her daughter and her husband, and the mundane portions of her life are absolutely boring, but they help show how she juggles who she is. Because it runs against her random encounter in a store that forces her into escalation of situations. These situations slowly cause Erin to reveal who she truly is. So this series is so far is about her trying to maintain her normal life and to try and shut down any interference from her past. It's within these two worlds, storylines and flashbacks, that we get hit with boring bouts of school bureaucracy, politics, etc. And then we also get scenes of Erin's past that really don't tell much about, that don't tell much in the first two episodes. And then also scenes where truth is being told, and Erin definitely has badass tendencies. So I think both mains and casuals will be equally parts frustrated and intrigued with the story, because it's just all over the place in regards to what they're telling you, and then stretching of long bouts of boringness, and then you get into the action, and you get some flashbacks, whatever. There's just a lot of different things cobbled together to tell this story. The acting, I like most of the cast in this. Ahmad as Erin Carter is pretty good in this. She is playing the two sides thing pretty well in this, meaning that she's going from mom to teacher to badass to mom to wife, etc. And sometimes you see the switch and you think that's kind of cool the way that she does it. And she's mostly relatable, but I kind of feel until we know the entire story, it's hard to label her as empathetic, because there's hints that she may have been like betrayed some people back in the past or whatever, things like that. So we still don't quite know all of her motivations and everything that's going on. But from what we see, she's doing a pretty good job playing the duality aspect of things. Susanna Fielding as Erin's friend and coworker Olivia is a likable character, and she helps lighten up scenes where things have just kind of been brought down. So I really appreciate her portrayal in this series. The rest of the cast is pretty decent, and I'll say that the acting will be fine for both mains and casuals, with it really resting on being a pro on the series. So I'm going to say it's more on the plus side than a negative. Some other thoughts that I have about this, there are some fight scenes in here, and what I like about them as a main audience member is that the scenes seem more real than the sometimes over choreographed Hollywood action scenes. As in, it seems like folks involved here have fight training, but that it sometimes gets streets and those perfect forms go out the window. Now, I don't know how much casuals will like them, but I like them as a break from the usual everybody's perfect, everybody is a taekwondo, judo, jiu-jitsu master, they know all these different types of moves, and everybody in here knows how to go ahead and actually fight. But hey, sometimes things go wrong, things get bumped, somebody, objects get brought into it, whatever, and it makes a fight a little bit more real. I almost that gets a little bit closer to kind of like the fighting style that they have in like a Jason Bourne series, or if you've seen The Raid. Those are series that kind of emulate fighting techniques that is still highly choreographed, but they get some realism in there, things like that, and it's just a little bit different. So those are my thoughts about some of the fight scenes. I'm also compelled by how the character of Erin is slowly having things compile as the series progresses. It's like how you may be trying to put a band-aid over a gash, but then another cut comes and you just keep trying to cover it up. Sooner or later, you're just going to have to treat everything instead of just bandaging it up. And it's a wild ride how she just tries to go ahead and actually cover everything up on there, and it's like, ma'am, you're gonna have to deal with this or what have you. And I think that's the most compelling aspect of this series and character, as she slowly is trying, things are getting revealed or whatever, things starting to pile up and all that kind of good stuff. So just some extra thoughts that I have on that. But you know what, let's get to this verdict. Our main target audience members, I'm gonna say watch the first 2 episodes of this series. But watching the 2 episodes gives you some good fights. It deepens the intrigue into Erin's past as to what exactly is she hiding. And there's also some weirdness going on with the daughter that may intrigue mains. It's one thing that I can't really talk about because I don't know if it'll be a spoiler, but it's something that I think is just different, and it adds a different layer to it and things like that. And I think intrigue mains. Now, for casuals, I'm going to say you can watch just 1 episode. 1 episode is enough for casuals to get the feel for this series. It's entertaining enough to keep your attention for about 15 minutes, and you'll be able to see if the fights and the characters are for you. So again, For main target members, I'm going to say watch the first 2 episodes. For casuals, watch 1 episode. And that's what I have for Who is Erin Carter on Netflix. Check it out.
Bye. Have a lovely weekend.
I appreciate you sticking around to the very end. You know what? If you really like it like that, you should go ahead and actually click like. Better yet, subscribe. As of me going ahead and actually doing this, we are now over 300 subscribers. Thank you guys. I didn't think I would ever get there. When I was first starting out, just never on there. And we're building our way up. We're doing a slow build. Go ahead and actually tell some more people about me if you like everything, all that kind of good stuff. But until my next review, I'll holler at you. Take care of yourself.